Good evening, everyone. Today is the Thursday, the 25th of February, and I would like to do a report for yesterday and today. And luckily, the children counts were way down today and yesterday both. For Wednesday, the 24th of February, 27 children were murdered in one location. These 27 children were collected by ICE, which is a child trafficking company that works along the border between the United States and Mexico. And they abduct children all the time and bring them into the DARPA CIA child trafficking operation. All these children were taken from Southern California yesterday. Well, they were taken before and then put into the MILAB child trafficking operation yesterday. They were taken from Southern California cities called Compton and 3 other towns in the LA area. And they were taken to MILAB number 2 first, and then they were moved to Roswell. And in Roswell, there was a group of 27 beings, people, aliens, whatever you want to call the reptilians, but they were 100% reptilians. And, you know, not the hybrids that are here, like most like the senators and army people who are 58% reptilian and then usually have a bit of amphibianism, and then the rest is human. But these 27 children were not raped. It's because the reptilians didn't want to wait around while the other men raped these children, and they massacred the children and ate them. And these reptilian are very strong, and they have, I think they're called talons on their hands, so they can rip children's flesh right off their body. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty to watch. It's worse than a horror movie. And but the good news is, as of 11 p.m. Wednesday, all the reptilians had been arrested. And the note that I got, and this is where I always get things wrong, and it's, oh yeah, it's over. There's no more coming in. And then 5 minutes later, another batch comes in, and then they're gone. And what happens is they have to be transfigured and then transmuted. And it's a process that rarely do the whole group, rarely do we do them all at the same time. And so when I tell people I fight the child traffickers all day, you know, and this is why I don't get anything done, it's usually this type of being, the 100% reptilian. They don't need temporals to come into our homes. The Army, like the Army Special Ops, they're here, you know, every day, and they use temporals to come in, like Obama came in today and tried to rape me again. But, so, you know, the message I got was the process is complete, and the vibrations have been lifted. And so the ability of those who are 58% reptilian are going to have a lot harder time hiding their true identity. And where I was saying where I was getting it wrong is, oh, it's over, and that's it. We don't have to worry about it anymore. And then they come back, you know, and kick our ass again, and the whole process starts all over again. So I hope that, you know, sometimes, like when I lost my cell phone, I asked my spirit guides, you know, what happened to my cell phone, and they said it's in your pocket. And I thought they said it fell out of my pocket. And so there's just, when we're going through this process of speaking to spirit and speaking to heaven, every once in a while it can be just a little bit off, and that little bit off can change the whole meaning. And today, on Thursday the 25th, there were 16 children gang raped and then murdered in 2 locations, 2 MILABs. And also, you know, I talked to, emailed a wonderful woman named Eve Lorgan, and I think her website is evelorgan.com, but you can just Google her name. She is like a therapist. I'm not sure exactly what her title is. She's been a doctor in 37 lifetimes, and she's a wonderful person, but she told me that the word MILAB meant military abduction. Those of us who have been abducted by the military, that they were, she and I think maybe James Bartley, another researcher who's been researching MILABs for years, they call people. But what I know to be true is that I think it's called an acronym, MI, Military Intelligence Laboratories, and so, but to me, I don't think it really matters what we call, what a name. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we close down the child trafficking operation, and there are 39 locations in this country, and other locations that don't do the military intelligence work, that they're just related to child trafficking, like the basement of the White House, so Mr. Obama can rape and murder children at his whim, which he just did last weekend again with Joe Biden. But today, 16 children were brought, they brought into the MILAB child trafficking operation, but this process has taken 2 days, I believe. And they were abducted by Child Protective Services, all these children, and then they were taken from families in Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, and Missouri. And then the CIA agents picked them up from this horrible criminal organization of pedophiles called Child Protective Services. So the CIA picked them up from there and then drugged them, and they were taken to CIA field offices where they were raped by CIA agents, and then they were driven to the nearest high-speed rail line, and then ultimately taken to Washington, D.C. for today's Gang Rape and Murder Festival. At the Washington DC MILAB number 1, 8 children were gang raped by a group of 112 males, while 3 females watched. The list includes 3 U.S. senators, 2 House of Representative men, Secret Service, 14 CEOs of war criminal contractor corporations, or military contractor corporations, whatever you want to call them, CIA agents, FBI agents, Washington, D.C. police, Maryland state troopers, and Virginia state troopers. And also there were a few from the Department of Homeland Security. Oh, and I'm sorry, 3 White House staff males. At the other Washington, D.C. MILAB number 2, 8 children were gang raped by a group of 76 men, including 10 senators, 8 House of Representatives, CIA, FBI, DHS, Secret Service, and Pentagon male employees, military. In the Washington, D.C. MILAB number 1, all 8 children were killed by CEOs of these military war, criminal war contractor companies, whatever you want to call them. To me, if you build weapons to murder people for cash profit and corporate gains, you're a war criminal. At least that's what I feel around here. Washington, D.C. number 2, all 8 children were murdered by 8 U.S. senators. And the Galactics had healed my arm because they broke the bone. Well, they snapped my astral arm, and that translated down to my regular arm, my physical arm, because we have five main bodies as humans: physical, astral, etheric, mental, and causal. Our causal body is our highest body and usually remains connected to heaven unless you're a dark entity, and then you get the connection severed, as far as I know. And, so the Galactics that came in, and I was talking to them last night because they did something. They, fused the bone, and but then they rebroke it again today. And I can hear it when I move my arm, because when I do my healing work, my hands go like this. It creates a double vortex as the energy flows through my head, heart, and hands, out of my hands. And now it's already swollen up again, and I can hear the bones cracking or whatever. So it's just constant around here. It's just absolutely constant. And, I really do hope that I've gotten several messages that this will be over and everyone's going to be arrested within a month. But a lot of times, I get false messages, and, I tend to want to believe the good news, but a lot of times they don't come true. But at least there were under 30 children for each one of these days. And I talked to a wonderful woman last night who's a very gifted psychic, and she told me a lot about the arrest, and she was saying about how she knows that certain people have been in the White House, that they've been negotiating for their resign before they're arrested, and I really hope that her information was accurate. And but at least the 819, the trials are underway, And the last time I checked, it was Elizabeth Windsor, which really isn't her real name. They call her Queen Elizabeth, but that's not really her real name, and she's not a real royal person either. But her trial was underway. She was after George and Barbara Bush. And I want to thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers for these children. And God bless your hearts. And have a nice day tomorrow.